make it back to the very top. So with this roster, can KT actually eliminate T1? As you said, T1 are notoriously hard to eliminate from Worlds. They have been there before with their backs against the wall in must-win games. And now into the draft, T1 once again on blue side here for game number 4 of Fearless Draft.
Pantheon Ziggs taken off the table. As you said, T1 on blue side, mid lane prio picks also off the board alongside Carius Bard.
So Galio, Nocturne combinations, maybe a Camille in there as well. Some of these T1 champions that you have seen them use create dive comps. That could be a tool that they use very aggressively. Okay, they're going to start out with bot lane.
And now we have, for the second game in a row, despite the struggles on Yunara in the previous game, T1 doubling down, tripling down on Gumayusi, being the center of their early draft strategy. Yunara did not work out for them. It was not enough. The Kalista, an incredibly oppressive champion at early stages of the game, set up for an explosive bot lane matchup, but the Trundle is there for Cuz.
Huge. I'm a known Trundle blind. I don't want to say hater because that's too much, but I don't love it. We'll see though. Cuz thus far has earned the confidence in this tournament and is really good into Kalista, being able to slow her down and make sure that she doesn't get the space that she so desperately needs in fights. This is also, again, there's a layer to this, right? There is the fact that Dom had a great Kalista game against Gen G, but he might now be picking up the Caitlyn here to try and fight for that bot lane prio.
And this is a very powerful siege combination. Trundle pillars with Caitlyn pushing early, assuming that Peter is actually going to play a bully support. Sometimes they have actually, for KT, they did like Caitlyn Braum. They didn't necessarily fully index into a Caitlyn Lux or Morgana or Karma type lane. And so they definitely have some options still open to them. But I do really like siege comps and an extra range there with Trundle because you can make use of that pillar. But here is the Nocturne that we were talking about earlier, does get locked in for T1. And I really do think those combination comps are going to come through for them with the heavy dive. You get Carius Renata here. He's going to have a big one.
And for lane, that feels good. But Renata, blind can get punished. Obviously, the 2v2 is absolutely devastating. And that's why T1, I think, have really struggled in this series. It feels like KT's early game has been better. For almost all of the times is BDD going to be blinding Cassio or playing Cassio into what is already such a short-range composition. Is going to be feeling impeccable. And it was this pick that got KT over the line against Gen G.
It was. And now against an immobile support like the Renata, luckily has the Kalista to bail her out, but the pillar is a massive threat to any immobile champion, something that has to be respected. With the Caitlyn, with the Cassio, getting grounded by that miasma, having a pillar placed behind you means there is no chance for escape. But T1 bringing out a lot of comfort, bringing out a lot of power here in the first phase.
And you can protection ban the Galio because you third pick this Cassio on red side. There you go. And you can whittle down on even the few options that Faker does have left. Those combinations that we're talking about for the Camille, Galio, Nocturne just will not be there. I like the Ornn, though, as far as the band, because you know that KT have very strong scaling and are building towards that big team fight.
And it feels kind of awkward, because normally what you'd want to do into Cassio is outranger, right? Go for something like the Hui, which we've seen a decent amount of. And I think it's okay, but it doesn't really synergize that well with the Nocturne, right? You'd rather play something that can actually dive deep, that can go in aggressively, but trying to play any dive into Cassio, into Trundle, into Caitlyn just doesn't feel great. And there you go. KT, they say, we're not even going to take that gamble. We don't care about the comp mismatch. We want to protect BDD with 2 bans towards Fake. 4 in total here, setting BDD up for success.
And we knew in a world of Fearless, depth of champion pool was going to be incredibly important because getting that wind on Mundo. Owner not able to find that wind on his Viego. Now we're seeing 2 more conventional meta picks get taken off the board. KT feels so set up for success here. Faker's champion pool so heavily diminished.
I got to say, I like what I'm seeing from Score. He is a legacy player for KT. The organization really has relied on him over years and years as player, as coach. And he's setting them up again. Oh my goodness, is it going to be the Crank?
The Blitz. I don't like the Nautilus matchup into Renata. Feels nigh unplayable, but Blitz is a different story altogether, Peter.
Tom Kent. Okay, an answer into the power that this Nocturne can bring, denies a lot of the dive.
Yeah, exactly. He knows that they're going to round out the rest of this comp with more dive, so preemptively grabbing the Tahm Kench.
First Kench that we've seen this tournament as well, and it's perfect that he's going to get the counter pick. What is Doran going to go towards? That is a Doran Classic certified. Was
Banger?
one of the pivotal points as I was thinking about this.
Yanivia locked in. Obviously a champion against champions like Trundle and the Tahm Kench. The power of that ulti to really slow you down the walls against a Cassio can be devastating.
What is it going to be for Doran? Ornn is on, Yorick gone. Often we see these blind picked.
And gentlemen, it feels a bit scattered from T1.
So yeah, it's still got to be the Gragas. They round it out. Okay, it is a bit versatile. Honestly, though, I'm favoring the KT side at the moment, and they get counter.
Okay, let's all take a breath.
No, we're not going to get baited by ours.
No room for breathing.
No.
Mordekaiser.
What is he going to lock in here? Perfect. What's the R5?
It is interesting because Mordekaiser is a champion that can still split push even when faced with Nocturne comps.
True.
So I do like it even when, T1 have ways to attack side lanes, with Nocturne and other people joining. It is something that can still always have threat there due to the Mordekaiser ultimate.
I will also just say, in terms of ease of execution, there's almost no reliable hard CC on the entirety of this KT lineup. They're really going to need to have full map control, be better on the setup, because on the opposite side, you have these walls that can catch people out that matches the one piece of CC that feels like could do something for KT, which is the pillar. You've got the stuns, you've got the Renata, the Gragas to potentially set up these plays. Huge, I think, burden on Doran to be the guy who can make this happen.
And it was 2023 Spring Finals where Doran had a truly majestic performance on the Gragas. That was back then into T1, to which this day in the LCK, there is a discussion as to whether or not he was robbed from MVP for how good his Gragas was, and that is with match point for KT, what T1 decides to trust him with.
KT on the cusp of winning their first trophy in their first finals after their first semi-finals. An unprecedented run, but they are going up against T1, the greatest to ever do it. A team hungry to find redemption for Faker. 2015, 2016, denied in 2017. This roster wants to be the first to make the three-peat happen.
The ever-elusive three-peat. And as you say it, Keria flashes the Faker emotes. See if they can actually do it this time. T1, of course, they have to approach this as one game at a time. Every single game must win for them to extend the series. Every play critical, including the level ones.
Faker trying to move away. Good damage going down on Owner, forcing that early flash out. You have to be terrified now because Cuz is going to start to take over in the jungle.
Yeah, Trundle definitely can go for invades and look to punish flashes.
Yeah, BJ Trundle with a flashless Nocturne, definitely big, as we can see. A little bit of a trip down memory lane. It's T1, as we keep saying, in case maybe you just tune in. Maybe you're like, what's all the ruckus about? Have had so many ups and downs, and in this modern era, it's been the four-man core of Owner, Faker, Guma, and Keria. We've had Kana originally in 2021. We've had Zeus in 22, 23, and 24. And now Doran, as they find their backs against the wall.
And how fitting is it that it's KT Rolster that stands in front of T1 now, when it was T1 in 2013 that went over them to go get their first Worlds title. See if they can do it. Okay, Owner, no flash, but it doesn't matter. He can still clear as Nocturne. You want a full clear at least 2 times.
He can beat the jungle camps.
Yeah, and then
he doesn't need flash.
Yeah, just clear in peace, and then your flash will be up in no time. That's how you look at it.
Definitely a good luck is BDD is going to be the first to get to level 2. Neither one wants to be too aggressive with their cooldowns. Obviously, if a single Noxious Blast connects, the potential for BDD to just run Faker down is very real. Nice handshake coming in. Immediate barrier coming out from Dokdom. Gumayushi using a barrier of his own just in case the tower shot does come through. So super dominant 2v2 here already from the side of T1.
And I do think you kind of know that when the Kench gets locked in, you're just not going to have the laning pressure. This is really a pick that is expected to have pressure as you go deeper into the series, right? Or rather into the game, when the dive will inevitably follow. I gotta say though, Kench into Anivia and Gragas really doesn't feel quite as good. I think the Nocturne and the all-in from Guma and Keria feels good to play into, but Anivia really makes it hard for you to actually reliably protect your carry, get W's off, and Gragas kind of self-explanatory. His ability to create space. Keria!
Flash away. Keria tries to get him with the Q flash. Dom quick on the reactions, crucially, but that is a flash down in the laning phase. And again, while Owner is flashless, may still be in a position come level 6 to really force this dive before Peter has access to that ultimate.
Big for this T1 bottom lane that T1 want to play through their bottom lane here with this comp, this Kalista, Renata, Nocturne trifecta that they've been able to get for themselves. And it is going to mean guaranteed bot side Scuttle Crab with the early push there, and the ward as well from Doran, who took his time from top lane to go ward the second one. So they'll know that this time around, Cuz has done the same thing he did last time, where he did the clear into recall and then look for the crab.
I do like, though, you see, even though Nocturne isn't necessarily like the #1 dive champion, all the precautions are being taken. Cuz actually hovers there to see if they go for the crash, or for the dive on the first crash. Dum's still going to be substantially behind, though. Force the base, and the early game going the way of T1 here in this fourth game.
Kind of double value when you're able to shut down that Caitlyn early game that so often is incredibly impressive. Now, though, on the top side, Doran may have to be careful. Good awareness, though.
They should
and
know.
See the potential gank coming, knowing that there's really no play on the bottom side to be had for KT.
Early stages of Mordekaiser versus Gragas, not too big. Plenty of sustain on the Gragas, no problem. So just a farm fest up there, as both junglers will go into their second re-clears. It's going to be a little bit quicker, of course, for Owner because of Cuz's little altered path where he goes for the quick recall there. And we'll see once again when the Nocturne does end up towards the bottom side of the map. Currently, though, Keria and Guma at least hovering into the fog of war, then going for pretty deep recalls.
Are seeing Faker taking not the best of trades, but not really botted. Has his egg still available. We'll see if Cuz can make something happen. Might look here. Has his Raptors just now done. Making his way over. Even getting a summoner or getting the egg would be big.
Faker grounded. Cuz on the way in. Good wall to force the disengage. But BDD full committing even though he has no mana. They do manage to get the passive out of Faker. Cuz full committing. Peter on the way. The tongue latch there. They want to get the kill to BDD, but it'll go to Cuz in the end.
And what could be the deciding game, KT, they send all resources again towards mid lane to BDD to make it happen.
But it's Cuz that gets the kill again. Now we saw how that benefited them. As T1 wanting to look for the punish here.
Keria and Guma are powerful. They move in with the heal. A pillar to immediately block them out. The 50-50 goes to Owner. Flash away from the handshake. Is Peter barely able to make it out alive. Good recovery from T1.
And he flashes for that. He's like, no, trust me. I got this. Takes the wheel and finds the 50-50 steal.
Sometimes you need inspiration. When your team are backs against the walls and you just lost out first blood mid, you have to come up with some really big plays. And throwing it there, throwing the flash for the flip, getting it for Owner.
T1 get the objective, and now they've set up Dom in the mid lane, but Peter a little bit late. You can see how, while BDD was comfortable in that 1v1, it's so difficult for Dom. If a wall had appeared just a little bit more behind him, he very likely would have died like the one we're seeing here. Luckily, Peter is there to cover. Knockup will not connect. Nice initial stun from Faker. Procs the phase rush, will back away. Doesn't have any damage under his belt yet, or that could have been a lot more concerning for the side of KT.
It's nice, you know, you get a little indicator for where you need to throw your stun. As Cuz will be able to maintain this lead thanks to the kill that he got. Owner about to hit 6 though, and that is going to be when he comes online is perfect.
Perfect, flash away. Doesn't want to risk going into the Death Realm just to come out a few seconds later on the wrong side of a wall from Faker. And I do really love when people play goofy skins in very high stakes matchups.
The Gragas burp, a classic. All right, so much tension though, so much riding on this game as we get the swaps back out. And KT opting to send Caitlyn up to the top side of the map, whereas Guma and Keria have full priority here, trying to push in on BDD's Cassio.
And looking at how the early game setups are going to go, it feels like who gets to the objective first, right? If you're able to use the priority in your lanes, use the priority of this Guma Keria lane, with the Kalista Renata, you're able to turn that into vision, and you're able to pick off members from KT as they rotate over. Because the pick potential is amazing. Turn off the lights, displace them either with the wall or with the Gragas. And there's a lot of damage available early on to take down these targets for KT. Again, it feels like it's going to come down to what can we find in the team fight.
Yeah, an excellent lane assignment from T1. Again, Faker easily able to wave clear, even in the face of the Caitlyn, Tom, Kench. Good lane, mid lane control from Keria and Gumayushi, and now Owner walks his way up top side, immediate 3 grubs secure.
T1 continuing to stack the objectives that they need in this game. Using Guma and Keria, their priority nicely. They rotate over from mid lane to the grubs, up to top lane, and want to keep that pressure on.
Hey, they got the first dragon as well. You know, the way in which they did it was high risk, but ended up working out. All planned. Oh, I mean, Owner knew, you know. Otherwise, you're a Nocturne that uses his flash for no reason, but he trusted his smite button.
And they know that they are going to need to continue to stack those objectives. So we'll see if the emphasis on the earlier Dragon Soul for them does come to fruition. Kalista, of course, looking to be a snowball.
Ooh, and I do love that it's Docton playing that Caitlyn skin from DRX. The last time that T1 lost in the finals, it was against that team. As Faker should be fine here, but his prio is continuously maintained. And look at the top side. T1 keeping these waves shoved in, and plates will be their rewards.
And this feels like the first game where T1 are able to build such a clear advantage in the early stages. Yes, BDD has a small gold lead, but Gumayushi, essentially, no one can stop this man from pushing in, from building a greater advantage. And you already talked about Drake stacking, right? Kalista, a champion who very effortlessly can contest the big smites of the game, and when Owner and Guma are working together, it feels pretty impossible for KT to stop an objective that T1 have started.
Guma, on a lot of champions, is pretty good at contesting dragons as well.
Has been known for that,
Yeah, he has stolen, even at this tournament, multiple dragons on different AD carry champions. This time around, though, we continue the farm fest, my friends.
Nice. Love it. You know, it's
bringing
game
the LCK to the world
It wouldn't be
stage.
your final
World's
cast if we
finals.
didn't get a little, the appropriate pace for an
Obviously,
LCK matchup.
the main issue is that normally we go completely off topic.
Sure.
We're not going to do that here.
No. Professionalism.
Yeah, obviously. There's a hex plate now done here for Owner. We'll have that available going into the first fight. Looks like double Roa to come through here for T1 as well. Obviously,
20 seconds.
Ooh, BDD close to his.
At this stage, however, it feels like T1 just ahead in terms of overall prio. Yes, BDD has mid lane push, but really has to be careful about wandering into Fog of War when Owner has access to that ultimate. Cuz has finished the Sundered Sky, not opting for a Trinity Force, knowing he might need a bit more sustain. Carry a bit of poke onto Peter, and T1 with this bot lane push, very likely set up to be first to the Drake.
Owner's there, trying to, I think, scout out, and this time T1, if they can set up again, trying to regain control into Renata, into Anivia, kind of a nightmare. We haven't really talked about it too much, but the engage from KT, just not the best. It's really looking like a full committal or bust.
Cuz ready for the 50-50, Faker off to the side, decent damage onto BDD. Owner going all in, flashback coming out from Cuz, wall there as well as BDD just barely able to skirt around the edge. But the objective set up now for the side of T1, double TPs. KT want to claim it for a bit more. Ulti coming out from the side of Keria. Drake down, the backline of KT berserk as they look if they can turn it back. But again, they don't have the tools to keep the fight going, unless Peter wants to flash tongue lash. But that's all their CC. Perfect fighting off to the side, dragging Faker into the death realm. In the meantime, BDD starting to walk forward. Doran potentially caught out. The 4-man! BDD showing he can be clutch in the moments that count. Turning it again. KT were losing the fight as they lost the objective. Gumayushi will not be able to make the bailout work. The Drake to T1, the fight to KT.
Oh, Doran's gonna want that one back. The big whiff on the Gragas engage there.
Peter, knock up a bit too far. The thick skin, yeah, it's not gonna save you. Caught up in the hype, caught up in the moment. Faker gonna get one back.
Yeah, getting a little bit ahead of themselves there. The roller coaster, sometimes a bit of a bumpy ride. But as we highlighted, it's BDD that takes this fight into his own hands. You see KT, they at first very respectful of the amount of disengage available on T1. And it's not until this pillar comes through that they're really ready to commit.
Yeah, and they try and pincer them against. Then Dorian goes for the big play, but he's left in the middle, and BDD hits the ultimate, peeling all the rest of the DPS, getting those stuns. And T1 get chased out.
And Perfect, while that was happening, took out one of the big DPS sources for T1. Even though he doesn't actually take out Faker, we can see there, the BDD topping those damage charts, and Faker, he was just hitting a Mordekaiser.
Nothing you could do. Guma, BDD, the points of pressure that we look at for both teams. Gumayusi does go down in the end, giving a lot of that gold back to Dokdom, crucially for this KT lineup. And BDD now with the Roa fully stacked, even as Faker struggles to complete his, is in an excellent position in the fights to come. Again, 1 minute and 30 seconds now until that Herald is available. Topside still close. Mid lane still very much dominated by Guma. T1 would really like to have that prio advantage ahead of this next objective.
Yeah, they made the call. Just try and go for Dokdom. You know, Dorian getting in there for the knockback, but they didn't have the damage to follow it back up. And so the extra kills here for KT, but T1 preemptively got the Dragon. So that plan of stacking the Drakes is still there.
Ooh, and this is a game where I think Ocean's are actually going to get a ton of value. It makes your side laning so oppressive. There are a ton of champions on either side that have a good amount of sustain. Going to become even more annoying when you become basically an immovable object in that side. And a lot of champions that, even with the Roas, even with the Seraphs, are going to chew through a ton of mana. As right now, KT feeling like, despite everything that's happened, game basically that even, right? If anything, it's in favor of T1, given that we've seen the Grubs go their way, given that they're currently up a whole whopping 2 plants as well.
And remember the context of all of KT's kills. It is a lot of flashes, it is a lot of full committals with very long cooldown sums and abilities. T1 still have a much easier time setting up fights, setting up picks, and because they've secured those 2 Drakes, they will inevitably be allowed to force at least one fight on their own terms, even now as we see both teams setting up for the Herald.
And I think that will be necessary for T1, because KT, they have used this Caitlyn so effectively from the very beginning of the tournament, and they've constantly looked towards the late game with this champion for Dokdom, and the siege power, the extra range. KT right now, speaking of siege, with the 4-1, but T1 are able to take control of it. They've got control and access to the Rift Herald as well, so they can continue to stack these neutral objectives. And that's the way that they're going to apply this pressure to KT and not allow them a lot of extra time in the game.
Early objective stacking going the way of T1 convincingly and fully. As a possible play onto Doran here, a dive with about 50 seconds left on the clock would be big.
Owner on the way. Access to the ulti. TP available. Full commit now going down. Owner turning off the lights. All of KT immediately pulling back. Peter isolated, caught out. Trying to stay standing with the thick skin. Abyss will dive away as Faker takes down the top lane tier 1. And again, this is the struggle of the KT composition. It's so hard to force anything, and T1 continue to trade up.
And T1 read them like a book. The 5-man rotation gets punished heavily. They're ready to keep Doran safe. This time around, that Gragas will not be taken down. And then on the cross map, the topside turret falls.
And now they're in a perfect position to contest this next Drake. The good news for the side of KT is at least Dokdom finally has that collector, is able to chip away at Gumayushi's health bar, but with the Blade of the Rune King and a red buff, Guma forced to be reckoned with. KT poking their heads, and they don't really have the vision, but they do have a ward on the flank if Perfect can find his way in. We'll just take the more conventional path through the mid lane, however.
And look at the flank from Doran here, trying to hide there on the Ocean Rift, looking for a big displacement.
Herald summoned in the mid lane. 5v5 at the pit. Flash ulti available for BDD if he wants to try and find it. Perfect isolated off to the side. Hostile takeover stops Peter from going any further. Dokdom completely isolated. Cooking the barrel for just a little bit longer, and now the Drake is going to go down. Owner taking it. Dokdom isolated. and Perfect trying to force a fight with Faker, but he gets nothing as the wall comes in to interrupt. Flash over the wall, the ulti from BDD, he might get a couple more kills, but again, the objective belongs to KT. Even as T1 begin to fall, Faker and Carry are ready to turn it. But have they overcommitted the wall there, trying to disengage Carry? Faker running into the pinch, Obliterate connecting for full damage. Cuz on the chase, waiting a few seconds for the pillar, but the stun clutch to disengage for the side of T1.
T1, they get the dragon, but at what cost, guys? The gold here going over to KT, some of these kills. Ooh, it is tense. I mean, T1, I think it's still good because they can still keep up their timeline for Dragon Soul.
I think you take it because of the double steal that comes through, right? Because they're unable to get this dragon. Owner gets to secure again. And I want to look at the amount of flashes that are blown here for KT. As Dogdom gets taken down, completely focused by Guma, who stays alive until BDD gets on top of him. But the stalling here is a big deal, and the trades aren't that bad when it comes to kills here for T1. And with that objective going their way, so many summoners were blown there for KT.
And I think the big thing that I'm looking at is the effectiveness of this Tahm Kench. This is a moment where across this series it's felt like Peter, Dogdom have been doing well even when Dogdom's been getting caught out. But you saw there the disconnect. Peter flashes in to try to devour Dogdom. Dogdom flashes over the wall. They can't get the angle. And those moments of miscoordination are effortless for T1 to punish. And this is something they cannot afford because they're already falling behind in terms of map pressure. Even if they have a kill advantage, they're behind in gold. Single mistakes like that could cost them everything.
And I'm looking at Owner's smite button.
Oh yeah.
Inspect that thing. This guy is cold as hell, man. Keeps on getting these dragons. Started out the game with a flash to go steal it. Can he do one more? Does he have one more in him?
And started off the game without a flash to speak of. When it comes off cooldown, he flashes to steal it. And again, this is the member that we've heralded on this T1 lineup as the most consistent point. Being clutch around these objectives is crucial because now you see the runway, you see the path to victory. The Otacon, the Soul, stand in front of T1.
In 2013 OGN Summer, those telecom wars going the distance. Will we go the distance here on the World Final stage?
If we start a Twitter poll, can we ask for Game 5 blind pick?
I'm down.
It's a throwback.
Let's get double Zeds, double Shens back in there.
Fearless Game 5 blind pick.
Run it back.
We could do that, right? It's fine.
We have that authority, I'm sure.
Yeah, certainly.
Absolutely not, for anyone concerned.
5 flashes have been blown by KT, and that does mean that I expect T1 to maintain prio in these lanes, because not having flash means that you're much more susceptible to a Nocturne showing up and taking your lunch money as Owner. We've seen him and Gumayushi often be the deciding factor together. As KT, they might just full send in on Otacon, at least to get the TP out of Doran.
Understand the gamble that KT are in because T1 are collapsing, and in the meantime, waves are being deleted. It's costing KT hundreds of gold just to be here. And if T1 take the fight, it might just cost them the game.
Perfect has
sticking
ult.
around, ready to get them away. The ulti not stacked up. Perfect going forward just a little bit longer. The Death Realm to come out. Owner going to respond with an ulti of his own, turning off the lights on this team fight between both lineups. Gumayushi and Perfect in the Death Realm, and Guma takes those. T1 focusing on the objective. Cleanse used from Carrier. Heal on the way. Faker finding a bit more damage. BDD isolated. Hostile takeover going to connect onto BDD. It won't have much effect as Cuz tries to chase Faker out. But Dogdom, he might take Carrier. But it's T1 taking the Otacon. Guma securing the objective.
And there it is. The second smite for T1 strikes again as Otacon goes their way.
Oh man, that was a tense one. You can tell the call from KT, I think at the beginning, is have Mordekaiser just run at Owner and try and ult Owner. But look at Perfect getting kited. The Anivia does so much work keeping him at bay. Carry as well, trying to help, trying to delay. And then as the ult goes down there, they kite it back out. Otacon resetting. They put so many spears into this Otacon.
And I cannot think of a worse champion to pull into Death Realm 1v1 than a Kalista that has been accelerated. Unfortunate from the side of KT.
Yeah.
You see that they have the damage, that they have the items. They just cannot put it where it counts. And ultimately, that just means that T1 are even further ahead. 23-9, the score in terms of the petals. 1,000 gold advantage and 20 seconds until T1 are set up to take the Soul.
It's going to have to be a miraculous team fight here from KT, as they are second to the objective. And if this Soul goes over, barring an Elder flip, T1's got to be feeling real good.
Doran isolated for a moment. The Miasma just a little bit late as Faker's off to the side. Good damage onto Perfect to kick things off. Cuz still eating a bit of damage. The poke from T1. A bit tough to deal with. You can see the pierce that lands onto Dom, taking that chunk of health. Flash in, full committal to the fight. Pillar to isolate Owner, redemption to heal Faker right back up. That's almost every single cooldown burn. It's on BDD to try to turn it back, but it's a split fight. T1 coming from multiple sides, collapsing as Owner moves in on top of Perfect. Dorn has been isolated in the death realm, but he'll manage to make it over. Flashback, absolutely jukes him. And now it's Perfect caught in a 1v1 with Faker right as he comes out. He is stunned, but he won't be taken down. All of T1 in the pit. The spears stacked, smites available.
Faker's gonna teleport back. They're recalling Mordekaiser and the Anivia.
The fight just continues to go. 6K getting lower. Dom trying to get a bit of poke. Hostile takeover connecting. They don't have a cleanse. Devour from Peter is good, but it might not matter. Cuz continuing to move in. BDD waiting over the wall. The ulti is there, but they don't need to face him yet. The turn on to Faker isn't enough. 3K. Cuz in the pit. At the end of the day, it does not matter because it is Doran to get the soul. KT might be able to get the fight, but there's too many members of T1 standing. Ocean Soul to T1 as everybody on KT falls.
And I am starting to hear some silver scrapes in my telecom war.
Oh my God, T1 stand up, get the Ocean Soul, and they have made every person in this stadium stand up as well. Dom gets hit with the carrier ultimate immediately. Peter trying to bail him out. They're both so low, they get pushed out. Then Doran blocking the Caitlyn ultimate, protecting Owner here as they try and kite back into the pit. Meanwhile, on the top side, BDD was running straight at them. Immediately gets deleted there by Carrier and Faker on the other side.
And it's Guma skirting alongside the fight. And the fact that Faker, even though BDD got his ultimate off, hit him with the stun. So he didn't actually get to do the damage that he needed to, as the double fake out from Doran. And the MasterCard prize at the moment of the game, Ocean Soul secured for T1.
Plus, in the lead up to that fight, Faker was kiting so well with the Anivia, and there was a moment where the Mordekaiser was trying to pull him in, but the Trundle Pillar also bumped him out as well. I mean, the annoyance of the late game Anivia, the kiting here that he's able to pull off, really created so much space.
And T1 seemed to perfectly understand their strengths in comparison to KT's weaknesses. We've mentioned it countless times. We saw it in draft, and we've seen it be the bane of KT this entire game. They do not have good tools to force picks. So T1 get to stay in these fights at 20% health, 30% health, because once they see that pillar go down, they know there's no way anyone else is getting on top of them in the back line. Now, Soul in their favor, Flowers in their favor, 5K gold lead, and they're set up to take the first Baron of the game.
And it's again costly when it comes to summoners for KT. And T1, call the T1 Baron. Gold lead's there, Ocean Soul is theirs. And KT, we'll see if they can make something happen.
Owner and T1 have secured every single objective this game. Cuz moving in, but zoned away by the Storm from the side of the team. Berserk now onto Cuz, has to ulti. Owner using an ulti of his own just to try and disengage. Dorn, meanwhile, in the mid lane, happy to just continue fighting. Perfect going into the back line, looking to get taken down by Faker. He's in the death realm, but Faker's happy with the 1v1. Just in time, he gets out, and Dorn is there to seal the deal on the kill. KT desperate to get anything. They've already lost their top laner. The game rapidly slipping away.
They're trying their best to not let this game go to 5 as Doran still searching.
No flash for BDD, that crucial piece of CC and exhaust there. But Faker just waiting in the darkness. Guma stacking up the spears, the wall to zone KT away. Flash not there for Cuz either. BDD off on the side is going to use the ultimate. W in from Peter does absolutely nothing. T1, they see a vulnerable opponent. They know what they can do as they start to rip them to shreds. KT is not going to take a Baron. T1 reminding us why they are here, what they can do in a world final.
And T1 ensure that we are going the distance. We are getting our full value out of this series as KT just cannot close the gap to T1's backline.
The turn off of Baron to grab the kills, and now they will secure the objective. Here's another look at it. So Doran had just body slammed at BDD, and BDD used Cassiopeia ultimate. The rest of them can then chase through the river here. As you see, even with the Tahm Kench trying to eat him up, Dom still has nowhere to go.
The KT feel forced into trying to contest, know that if Baron goes down, game is as good as lost. And Peter, it's not an enviable job. You're trying to play engage Kench, and I've seen a single man do that well, and he's on the opposite side of the rift. We knew it was a gamble. And that, plus the blind Casio, I think really getting punished so nicely by T1 in this game.
Yeah, and the top lane difference as well. The Mordekaiser has not found a lot of value. He's getting kited a lot and hasn't had very high value ultimates either. So we'll see as we progress in this series. If we progress, because T1 still have not done it yet. They've got the Dragon Soul and a 9,000 gold lead though, so they definitely should be able to.
20 pedal lead, they have Grubs. We haven't taken a turret yet, Kobe.
They got more items, they got more money. Yeah. It's looking like a hard road for the side of KT. And now,
but it's good news for us.
When a comeback happens, if KT can make it happen, then it's something to be considered. Maybe a miracle flash, but it will take that miracle. And for KT, it's so important not to lose sight of the bigger picture. This is a game you could afford to lose because of what you won earlier. It might come down to a best of one, but you need to be at your best form for that matchup because this game is looking done and dusted. Owner pushing in the mid lane. KT can't really afford to split as that tower falls. The threat of T1 diving into their backline, a very real threat.
BDD found a big play on his Yone in game 1 against Gen.G to find a miraculous comeback, but this game feels so much more dire. About 35 seconds till we see that Elder come up. I don't even know if T1 really wants to wait for it. With 2 inhibitors, they can just decide to back off. No pressure on them.
Owner waiting, hoping to catch out a member of KT, over eager, knowing how important it is for them to stop the Soul from going down. 20 seconds, a TP into the mid lane. Maybe going to catch out Gumayushi here. But it's perfect. Again, this is the problem. No matter who TP's in, it's so effortless for T1 to just walk away.
Yeah, perfect. Guma is 2 levels up on the top laner.
Cuz caught out, isolated, immediate subjugate to try and stay standing, forced to flash back. BDD in the darkness! 3-man! But it's Doran to try to turn it right back! The ulti is decent, Carry wants to turn it back with the hostile takeover. The gold deficit is just too massive. Even a miracle, even an incredible angle was not enough in the face of this T1 lineup. The triple, the quadra, T1 bringing us to silver scrapes.
Guma lives the engage and T1's hopes live in the grand finals.
And the telecom war has never been this insane! World's Finals, Game 5!
A back and forth, absolute dominance in Game 4 though. The story for T1 as we get ready for Game 5.